Valuable. Definition: the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. We all know the story. Steelers last season went 8-8, missed the playoffs, and widely regarded by many one of the worst offenses in the NFL. We couldn't really move the ball. And on top of that, probably considered one of the worst receiving corps in the NFL too. Fast forward all of a sudden into 2020, halfway through the NFL season, and the Steelers sit at 8-0, undefeated, the number one team in the NFL. And if you listen to many talking heads and analysts out there, the best receiving corps in the NFL from top to bottom. So what changed from 2019 to 2020, where we go from 8-8, missing the playoffs, one of the worst offenses in the league, to now 8-0, undefeated, and one of the best receiving corps in the league? I mean, we had the same players, James Conner, Benny Snell. The offensive line has pretty much stayed the same. Juju, James Conner, Deontay Johnson, now they have magically become the best receiving corps in the league. The same Juju everyone was mocking as not being a receiver number one, who was injured all last year, dropped the ball in the Jets game, and people were really questioning if we should pay this guy and have him come back. Like I said, these are essentially the same receivers that are being highly touted right now. I get it though. We drafted Chase Claypool, we brought in Eric Ebron, so it's not exactly the same. But my point is, I don't know how many times we have to keep doing the whole Steelers, man, they're just magical with drafting receivers. They really know their receiver talent. I mean, we've been doing this for how long, where there's a consistent factor at quarterback over these past 2 decades throwing them the ball. We could even look at the stats. Juju, his rookie year, over 900 yards. Mike Wallace, his rookie year, 756 yards. Martavis, over 500 yards and 8 touchdowns in 10 games. Santonio Holmes, 824 yards. Antonio Brown in his second year, over 1,000 yards. Don't forget Emmanuel Sanders, Marcus Wheaton in their second and third years having over 600 yards, and Sammy Coate was relevant until he got injured. Right now, Claypool is on pace for over 900 yards in his rookie season, and if you look at all the stats that I just laid out there for you, this seems more like a common thing as opposed to an anomaly whenever you bring in young receiver talent here to Pittsburgh. I wonder why. And then you look at Ebron. Ebron is a tight end who last year had 375 yards in 10 games, and I think if you ask most Colts fans, they could care less if they would have brought him back or not due to injuries, inconsistent play, and drops. Now let me just ask you this. If Seven wasn't back there this season, would Claypool be on pace for over 900 yards? Would the Steelers receiving corps be considered elite and maybe the best in the league? Would Ebron look as good as he is right now? Just ask yourself that. And yesterday we have a game where the special teams is a disaster. The defense is getting carved up by fourth stringer Garrett Gilbert. The running game is non-existent. The run blocking is non-existent. And maybe by some accounts the play calling is questionable. But with all that being said, the Steelers come away with a victory. Our quarterback throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and clutches up in the second half. So if you're talking about valuable, wouldn't you say that's valuable when all your aspects of your team isn't working the way they should and we still can come away from a game with a victory? Now, I'm not going to be ridiculous here. I know the defense stepped up in a timely fashion. They made plays when they needed to. So here's essentially my point. A team last year that went 8-8, lucky probably to go 8-8, missed the playoffs, is now undefeated and the best team in the league. Worst receiving corps, one of the worst receiving corps in the league, is now one of the best receiving corps in the league. Who was the big difference maker there? And that was Big Ben at quarterback. You want to talk about value? That is bringing value right there. And you know what? We even got a little bit of a reminder yesterday whenever Big Ben had to go out before halftime, and we got to see what our offense and our team would look like if he wasn't there. Just a little reminder of what 2019 looked like. And then we saw the second half, what happened here in 2020 with 7 there. And I'll leave you with this one more thing. Does this scenario not sound familiar? A team without a number one receiver, just so happens to be at the top of the NFL, not much of a consistent running game, and yes, a pretty good and timely defense, absolutely. Maybe even borderline great defense. Does that not sound like a familiar scenario that has been praised in the media over the past decade? Whoever's leading that team, whoever's quarterback of that team is some type of really valuable player. No, maybe most valuable player in the league. Do we not have the same situation here in Pittsburgh? I'll leave that for you guys to decide. I think you guys know my answer. But I hope you guys enjoyed the vid, and stay chillin'. Peace. Oh, one more thing. Don't forget to, that was in probably one of the worst divisions in the NFL, in the AFC East. AFC North right now, probably the best division in the NFL. Another thing to consider. But yeah, stay chillin' and peace.